for supporting the Fable and Folly Network. Here's another show we know you'll love.
Congratulations. You've reached the Amelia Project. A new life awaits. If you're not serious about this, hang up. If you continue, there's no way back. Leave your message after the beep.
Enter the offices of the Amelia Project and be ready for surprises, twists, and turns. Follow the Amelia team as they help clients fake their deaths and come back with new identities. Each episode is different. Each client coming to the death-faking agency has a unique story to tell. In our 5th season, we are going back in time and telling stories of historical figures who sought out the agency's help. If you want to learn the real fates of Elvis, Alfred Hitchcock, Marie Antoinette, Molière, Shakespeare, Mary Queen of Scots, and more, if death and disappearances, comedy and crime, mystery and magic sound like your cup of cocoa, then The Amelia Project is the podcast for you. Season 5, Part 3 is coming very soon and features new clients, new cases, and guest writers such as Gabrielle Urbina of Wolf 359, David K. Barnes of Wooden Overcoats, and Jen and Chris Sugden of Victoriosity. Search for The Amelia Project wherever you get your podcasts.
The Fable and Folly Network supports creators of exceptional audio stories, including the one you're listening to right now. If you love our shows, we want to hear from you. Complete our listener survey at fableandfolly.com/survey. This will help us learn more about you, what you like, what you'd like to hear more of, and how we can maintain an inclusive, safe atmosphere. As a thank you for your participation, we have extras and behind-the-scenes content from your favorite shows. Fans make the network what it is. Thanks for listening, and we can't wait to hear from you. Find our listener survey at fableandfolly.com/survey today.
Modes of Thought in Antaran Literature. Second Year Classics, Harvard University.
Hello, Professor. Thanks for calling us.
Of course, Mr. Shapiro. I'm happy to try to help.
Actually, we go by Graham and Joshua.
Oh, right. Of course. So, you're going to have to explain this to me. You've got...
There are 2 distinct entities sharing this body, so we generally go by both names.
Okay. And you're part of Brooke's whole organization out in Nevada, right?
That's right. We're one of the hybrid people at the Nevada Project.
Right. So, okay, what's the best way for me to speak to you correctly? Do I need to modify my language in any way, or is there any special accommodation I can make?
It's not necessary. We both have full access to our faculties. If you've got a specific question or comment for one of us, just let us know. We'll just.
Okay, great.
All right, let's just jump in. We need guidance in developing an accurate translation program for the digital prisoners from Joshua's planet.
Right. I'm happy to give you whatever help I can. My expertise is less in practical linguistics and more in historical literary analysis. But, I got my master's in philology and I know how this work is done, so I should be able to provide some guidance. Just to be sure, we're not recording this, right?
No, not at all. It's just going to be between us and you.
Okay, great. So yeah, again, happy to help. I'm kind of thin ice with my dean, and anyway, if we could just keep this between us, that would be the best.
Understood, of course.
So how can I help?
The translation program we've developed is good for us to translate some words, but we need to be able to actually speak with the prisoners in a way that will let us understand concepts and directions.
Right. Okay, I got the broad strokes and the email that you sent. the way that we approach this work is fairly simple, but it gets complicated quickly. So you want to start at the beginning, and the beginning, when you're trying to decipher a language, the best approach is to start with certain basics and then start to refine from there. So, for instance, what I'm saying here is every language has words for, say, water, for sun, for food, and sleep. And you can assume from that communication begins with survival, right? Very basic necessity. So we communicate to help us find the necessities that keep us alive.
Graham speaking, this might already be a problem.
Why is that?
Well, for instance, the people on Joshua's planet don't sleep the same way we do. They have an extended period of stretching. Joshua speaking, it's not a problem. Your sleep and our sleep are analogous. It really requires the bare minimum of insight to find the parallels.
Okay, good. So not a problem then.
We can transcribe these basic urges from one organism to another.
Okay, great. So that's where I would start. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but once you begin to get your footing with biological imperatives, then the next step that you would take is to look for binaries that support those imperatives. Let me explain this. So, when you can see, then you can do things that keep you safe. When you can't see, you cannot do those things that keep you safe. You are more in danger. So we've got night and day. Day, good, right? Because we can see, we can stay safe. Night, scary, it's dark, we can't see. It goes even further than that when we start talking about being enlightened or being blind, which is a way that we describe states of mind.
That is absolutely fascinating.
Right? I know. I love this shit.
Joshua speaking, we need to find a way to get better technical language from the prisoners in the Matrix.
Can I ask, what do you mean by technical language?
Graham speaking, yeah, what do you mean? Joshua speaking, if I'm going to help these prisoners, I don't need to know how they're feeling. I know how they're feeling. They're being tortured just like I was. I need to be able to talk to them about what they know and what they need. Okay.
So what specifically are you looking for? Like, where do we need to take this?
We need language that can describe math, science. We need to know the language of direction, of degree, of height and depth.
I mean, math is sort of its own language. You can't communicate with these people, but you want to do trigonometry with them?
For the sake of this conversation, let's say yes.
I understand that's the need, but it's going to take a little while before you get to that stuff.
It can't be a while. It has to be now.
Okay. Either way, you're going to need to start with basics and then expand out into binary systems. That may be helpful for a mathematical conversation, especially given the digital nature of your particular conundrum. So binaries is where you need to start heading. What you need to do first is establish up and down, forward and back, right and left.
Exactly.
So in the earliest pictograms from Antera and everywhere else, we can get a sense of up and down because water is always down and the sun is always up. So if a person seems to be lying flat, but there's water at their feet and a sun above their head, we would sort of naturally assume that the image is actually turned 180 degrees, right? Actually, Joshua, can I ask you a question?
Joshua speaking, yes.
How close is the biology of the people from your planet to that of humans?
Joshua speaking, unnervingly similar.
Really?
Joshua speaking, we have binocular vision, same as humans. We move bipedally, interact with the world bimanually. We have 4 radiating limbs. We are more or less symmetrical. Our skulls are larger. We have extra moving parts for different types of speech, but we are very similar.
That is so interesting. Okay, it's going to make things a lot easier, that's for sure. So don't just think of the words you want, up, down, forward, back. Think of the ways that we use these words and what they mean.
In what way?
take the language and try to discern the mode of thought that goes into these expressions. You need to start with the modes of thought and go backwards from there. It's simultaneous, really. You want up and down, but how do we actually use up and down? Biologically, we wake up, right, and we fall asleep. We are up for anything, or we feel down. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, forward and back will have similar connotations.
Right. So you can be forward thinking or live in a backward place. Obviously, in English, we say move forward, but the word has a positive motion to it, right? So we use it to mean promote. Or to give an advantage to someone, you forward a message to someone, or you put forward their application. And the reverse is true as well. When you bend over backward, you're literally willing to be in pain to help someone else.
Right.
So you start with the thought, with how we use the word, and if there are biological analogies that exist, then you can start to get a more coherent translation from there.
We suppose left and right are probably somewhat harder.
I mean, it could be. Joshua, did you have left and right on your planet? Different names for each sets of limbs?
Joshua speaking. Yes.
Okay, and were most people dominant on one side?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, this is a bit of a long shot, but it could be very helpful. Humans are something like 75 to 90% right-handed. This means that left-handedness has always been seen as wrong, right? So all the words we've ever had for right were essentially good or positive, and all the words for left are somehow about being wrong.
Graham speaking. Wait, really? I mean, at least that's not true in English.
Oh, it's totally true in English. Our word right comes from the Old English word writ, which just means straight, as in, like, not crooked. And our word for left, which comes from the Old English lift, that word actually meant weak.
Graham's wife and kids are all left-handed. We should let them know.
Oh, no. For the purpose of our discussion, I think that it's really useful because this is true across all the languages on our planet, right? It happens in French, the word gauche, which is their word for left, and droit, which is their word for right. We use those words in English to mean gauche, like, bad, not fashionable or inappropriate, and adroit, which means, capable. And this goes back to Latin too. Right is dexter, as in dexterous, and the word for left is literally sinister.
Got it. So we start with the thought, a motion that seems awkward or against the grain, and that will most likely be left.
What I'm trying to get my head around is that if this prison is actually a hard drive, then the experience that you're trying to translate to and from, it may not be happening in 3 dimensions.
Joshua speaking. There's more to it than that.
Okay. Well, I think this is where you have to start. It's not going to be a straight path from the thought to the word, but, start with the biological imperatives, look for the binaries. That's how this work is done. And we can talk again if you run into a wall.
Professor, can we ask you a question? It's about your work, not ours.
Yeah, I've got a few more minutes.
You asked about the physiology of the people on Joshua's planet. One of the things we didn't mention, everyone on both planets has 5 fingers on each hand.
Okay.
Why remove one?
You're talking about the Matoka ritual, I suppose.
That's right. We live our lives in Base 10. Both planets do. In Base 10, we discovered how useful 12 is, how useful 5 is, how useful 60 is, on both planets.
Really? I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but that's really fascinating.
Graham speaking. The first time Joshua saw a clock, he knew exactly what it was.
No fucking way.
Base 10. We can square the circle, we can do the same trig, the same atomic weights, the same luons and gluons. So, Why lose a finger? What did your ancient civilization think they were discovering when they lost that finger?
Well, we enter speculation city when we start talking about why this entire population would collectively remove a finger. Do you have a theory? I want to hear it if you got one.
Joshua speaking. I have several. Are you smart? Graham speaking. Jesus, Joshua.
No, it's cool. You have no idea, actually, how many times I've wanted to start an explanation with just that question. Yes, Joshua, let's assume for today that I'm pretty fucking smart.
Until I say otherwise, assume this is Joshua speaking.
Got it.
Basic math here. Start at 1 and double it. You get 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, etc., right?
Yep.
Now add the digits together for any multiple digit number. So 16 would be 1 plus 6, 7. 32 is 3 plus 2, 5. 64 is 6 plus 4 equaling 10, but then it's 1 plus 0 equaling 1.
Right, that's a gematria trick, right? Numerology. I've seen this before.
What you've got, if you do that out to infinity, is 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, and then again 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, on and on to infinity.
That I did not know.
3, 6, and 9 never show up. So go back and start with 3, and you get 3, 6, 12, 24, 48, and when you add those digits together again, it breaks down to 3, 6, 3, 6, 3, 6, 3, 6, again, to infinity.
I'm going to trust you on that.
But you never get 9. 1 through 8, yes. Never 9.
What does this mean? What is this saying?
Well, this is where it turns from something scientifically provable and mathematically solid to probably total bullshit.
Okay, I'm comfortable there.
There were mathematicians and mystics on my planet that thought this was significant. And some of the so-called geniuses on your planet thought so as well. Your man Tesla was obsessed. Thought there was a path to a separate dimension.
Well, I don't know. If you're going to start describing dimensions beyond the ones that we're currently living in, then, I'm not sure, and neither are you, how applicable Euclidean math really is to all this.
It would explain how several people might simultaneously experience an effect at the same time when the cause only appears to have happened to one of them.
Then that is something that I would be interested in hearing more about.
You need a mathematical genius to go through what you've got. Smarter than you've got on this planet.
Are you offering?
Prison has a few people who could help. I'll give you a call when I get them all out.
Okay. That'd be great. How long is it going to take?
In the last 6 months, we've freed about 50 people. There are 50,000 left.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Can I ask you, Joshua, you keep kind of scoffing at the geniuses from our planet. Why is that?
I haven't read about anyone who knows half of what I know. Honestly, it's surprising you even have a word for genius.
Okay. I mean, I would look to the writers.
Really?
I would read Sappho, Rumi, Lee Bai, Shel Silverstein, David Foster Wallace, Snoop Dogg.
We're not lucky enough to luxuriate in the romantic musings.
When, in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, wishing me like to one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy, contented least. Yet in these thoughts myself almost despising, happily I think on thee, And then my state, like to the lark at break of day arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings.
Graham speaking. I can't believe it. Joshua appears to be speechless.
Good. We accomplished something today. Listen, guys, I hope that this was helpful. And start with biological imperatives, find the binaries, find the poetry.
Thank you, Professor.
Not a problem. And you've given me a lot to think about. I hope this has been helpful.
It has been. And we'll pay you back as soon as we can.
Modes of Thought in Antaran Literature. This podcast is made possible by Harvard University, a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities, the Peeler Prize in Archaeological Literature, and the Harbridge Family Trust, with an in-kind donation and production assistance from Wolf at the Door Studios. For more information and course materials, please visit Wolf at the Door's website at wlfdr.com.
The Fable and Folly Network, where fiction producers flourish.
Graham Shapiro is a decent man.
Gideon Media's hit sci-fi thriller Give Me Away returns.
There's a lot of people screaming in that prison right now.
So screen me. Just know up front I'm going to have input.
What happened? Are you all right?
Dad.
Tell us everything.
It seems like you want to scare us into thinking you're going to let us starve.
But should your treatment of us ever cause this decent man to let me off the leash again, anything is possible.
Give Me Away Season 2, starting April 11th.